Echo and HarperAudio present Loss of Memory is Only Temporary. Stories by Johanna Kaplan. Performed by Nicole Poole. In memory of my mother and father. Preface by Francine Prose. Since its initial publication in 1975, the hardbound first edition of Johanna Kaplan's Other People's Lives has accompanied me through several cross-country moves and has easily survived any number of bookshelf culls, those Pyrrhic victories in the struggle for space between the books and the humans. Because I have so frequently reread it for pleasure and inspiration, Other People's Lives has become a book that I cannot imagine living without. These beautifully written stories, with the addition of tales of my great-grandfathers and family obligations now included in this volume, have retained all their freshness, depth, and humor, their paradoxically scathing and compassionate insight into character and behavior. They continue to surprise me on this most recent rereading with intimations of what I was too young to understand or imagine, the first or second or even the third time I read them. The magic trick that time can perform within a single lifespan, turning the known world into a lost world, transforming a city and its people into a new city full of strangers whose lives continue to be shaped by many, if not all, of the same desires, dreams, hopes, and fears. At once precisely specific to a particular period, place, and milieu, New York and the decades after World War II, among Jews who have themselves fled Hitler's Europe or who live among refugee relatives or neighbors, these stories also describe the all-too-common, perhaps universal, discovery that the world doesn't warmly embrace the kind of girl who sees more than the people around her would prefer her to notice. Kaplan's smart, uneasy, cranky heroines remind me of Jane Eyre, but even more of myself as a child. Listening to the grown-ups' conversation and to its simultaneous translation, the commentary inaudible to anyone but myself, the background chatter that combined a know-it-all, eye-rolling superiority with existential dread. The hissing of the radiators that Miriam, home from school with the measles, hears in sickness is my Proustian Madeline. These high school girls in these stories dress, or are expected to dress, the way girls dressed in my high school. Long hair, dangling earrings, Mexican serapes, and chunky leather sandals. Babysitting. The experience of these characters, their language, and their interior voices so closely resemble what I remember that reading these stories is, for me, like looking at a family photo album with all the transfixed fascination and none, or almost none, of the nostalgia and grief. They remind me, all too clearly, of what it was like to be young, to feel that I existed on sufferance, that clear-sightedness was not a gift but a burden, that the people around me were more or less untrustworthy and hopelessly benighted. I remember how it felt to wish, as does one of Kaplan's characters, that I could follow a family glimpsed on a city bus and exchange my life for theirs. When these quiet, deceptively complicit young women speak their minds, the result can be deflating, hilarious, and thrilling. Here, for example, is one of the barbed, satisfying exchanges between the adolescent heroine of Babysitting and Ted Marshak, the famous, self-important, self-infatuated poet whose children, Sasha and Pietro, the babysitter has been hired to mind. Returning from a trip to Milwaukee, Ted tells his kids, "Daddy saw Grandma, and Daddy saw Aunt Marilyn, and Daddy brought you 2 presents." He unzipped the duffel bag and took out 2
Sample complete. Ready to continue?